who are professional tweeters,
Yes.
as opposed
Who
to
tweet
like
agency.
social media.
Agency. That's what.
Okay, so
Professional tweeters.
That's
all they
it's
do.
interesting we're talking about this because what are some ways someone can benefit from social media? Already, Cool that says that he's so anti people sitting down and like tweeting. He thinks it's not beneficial because
No, I don't
Is
think.
it not beneficial to the person or to the company?
to the company.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay, what
I think
exactly
you have
are
to be
you
very
saying?
clear.
Yeah, be clear.
This whole idea, start from the beginning. Why did all of a sudden social media blow up, right? Because you have the ability to say what you want to say on your phone. Your phone changed everything. Yeah, like it's part of your lifestyle. Oh, a red car has passed. I'm tweeting about the red car. But it cannot be a job to sit in a corner and tweet about that. It's part of your life. So when you have kids in digital agencies and that's all they do, and most importantly, it's just all I do is tweet. You're a fucking human being. Do you know what you have? You're the same brain that's created like
The social media.
like the whole social media idea. You're the whole brain that creates fantastic food. But you cannot be that guy whose role it is in an agency just tweet. And you're not part of the larger plan of being a communication a specialist. You're not part of that whole thing. You've been parked in the corner. Your job when you say tweet this, or tweet this. Who's tweet this? That is crazy. If you're talking about building a nation, you talk about building a business is not just one thing. Anybody can tell you that it's a team effort, right? But that is a tool that everybody can do with their eyes closed, right?
Okay.
So be a communication expert who also tweets, but you can't just be a Twitterer. Because when this thing ends, what are you gonna do? Think about 4 years of doing that. What are you gonna tell somebody?
Maybe
What can you possibly say? Unless you're a strategist. Don't get me. This is different from strategists
Okay.
who know how to put ads in Facebook and all those social media. We're talking about who's somebody. And you go to any there's somebody. His job is just to tweet things that his boss just tweet.
And it's quite interesting because I meet with some of these guys who tweet for certain companies, and when you sit with them at a table, like the last time I met one was at a movie thing, and when we sat down, all they could talk about is the accounts they handle. Like, we were monitoring what someone. They don't really bring anything else to the conversation because all they're doing is being given a copy, or rather a strategy that they have to execute. They were not even part of the discussion of how to execute
Yes.
the plan. You
And
see,
that is
that's
my yeah.
I think we're crucifying the young kids, who have taken advantage of the current position of social media to get paid to waste their brain and tweet. But essentially, because for me, like when you think why these kids are being paid is because the business as it exists has had about this thing called social media, and when you sit and talk to these businesses, when they talk about it, it's like a new market that came. They don't know that it's the same consumers on their. It's like social media is not a place. It's like a part of your everyday. But these companies will treat social media like a new market. Like now we need to get into the social media one. So we get some people who understand it, make sure we're tweeting, right? And so you end up like, does social media help your business if you know how to use it? Yes. But if you're over there paying a kid to just put up this post every 2 hours, it's never gonna change because again, we're in that like generation. We'll follow your thing, we'll do that. But social media is not that space. So businesses have not understood what social media is and how it integrates. And so because of that, like no understanding of what is this space and how does it work with our business, you go and pay a guy because you're like, young people are on social media, we need to talk to young people, you sit here and tweet. This kid doesn't ask about what or should we do it like this. They don't come up with a strategy or anything, they tweet. And this guy pays them $30 a month.
Me and Mandy sit down on social media all the time, and it's a science. Like some people that we follow, it just they captivate you to the point where it's just like, yo, like I want what he has. I want to do what she's doing because it's a science. Just telling someone I'm at Brew Bistro, I'm eating a sausage is not a science. But to get people to come to Brew Bistro because of what you're tweeting, I think it's.
But I'd ask those
creative.
people who you follow, what do they do in their life?
in what sense? Like
Professionally?
What do they do?
They're professional tweeters. Most of them, or some of them
Like
are.
who do we give me an example?
for an example.
Yeah, that who
It
you
depends
follow.
on what market. There's pop culture, there's some feminists, there's some people who are just in the scene, like politically, who just tweet about.
But would you say
things.
they're professional tweeters, or tweeting about what they do is an
It's their
extension?
media.
Yeah,
It's
it's
their
an
media.
extension. It's not their profession, but it's the way they tweet is so creative to the point where I just have to follow.
Exactly. And I agree with that 100. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I think what you're kind of pointing out, or rather bringing up, which I think you haven't mentioned, is these guys who tweet and they have zero communication skills. Now you tweet them, you have an issue. Your product has given me an issue. They don't know how to communicate back how to go about your issue. Do you get what I'm trying to say?
And yeah,
I think your issue is just the fact that there's guys sitting down tweeting, there's nothing much more they're
See,
gaining from it.
my issue is, and it's a very personal one because it's like you want this guy who's tweeting to be part of the entire business. That's
Okay.
really where I'm coming from.
Okay.
Like you don't want to hire a young guy that is his only role, because it doesn't help the business grow. When you talk about building a business, right? This person who tweets needs to understand what is this process that you're part of. And I've been in too many where this is all that the kid is doing. Yeah, all I'm tweeting and then that's it. I don't understand the business part of it. And so it's that.
Okay.
It's not really the tweeting part. It's like if you're such a young creative mind, and this is your era. Do you know this is an era for you guys? Like that's why Poji said, like a lot of us don't understand it, but you understand it. You even know it's bigger than even this tweeting thing. So take advantage of that. Like you homies, let me show you what's up.
You know, for me, the thing that I find interesting and about social media. So we're having this conversation with a group of my friends, and they said that it's so interesting how the same one person can now be 5 different people. Like you have a Tumblr personality, you have an Instagram personality, so you find like one person like on Twitter, she's just a feminist, and then on Instagram, she's about like home decor, and like, those are all her pictures. And you find that people are able to be as many versions of themselves as they'd like to be, consciously. Some people it's unconsciously. So I think that that's a part that business hasn't understood. The fact that what social media did for people is it allowed, it's like, done. I'm done reading you information. Now I'm telling you, as in the galaxy of human beings, my information, and the highlight of my morning is to drink this mimosa and so forth and so on. And it's very individualized and it's very localized. It's a very localized experience. I'm at home bored. That's your very localized experience. And then put for like 7 billion people potentially to be able to read that you, who they don't even know which corner of the world you're in, is at home bored, right? It's a very personalized thing. Now, if big business or even small business could understand that idea, then what Kule is saying makes sense. Then you can't have some kid who you pay to basically put out pre-scheduled tweets, this week we are talking about our Bogoff offer, go. So then that can't be it, because then in the first place, that's not what happens on social media. That's not the conversation that happens. If you're going to be effective on social media, it's going to have to be very personalized. It's going to have to be very individual. It's going to have to be very you. And then it's going to have to be very organically you. So like Twitter feminists, like them, right?
Yeah.
You follow them, they make you laugh. You watch them picking fights with like Twitter anti-feminists, etc. But that's a thing. So now imagine if that person is like doing advocacy for COVAL, Coalition of Violence Against Women. This person has a very localized perspective, but a very it's a very personal perspective. So this human being can then read COVAL's manifesto, whatever, like business plan, whatever. These are the things that you represent, and you say, how do we weave this into an existing conversation on this platform? But also the same cover, women are not just about being beaten up. Maybe also we're going to have some amazing success stories, and that's what we're going to do with another branch of the social media, right? So then it grows and it personalizes, and then he's right, then you can't just have like 10 kids sitting in a room tweeting your deals, like, shut up. Yeah, okay, I guess I agree with you.
But boy, what's your
there's a quote I remember seeing one time, and the one thing that struck me was I was at a point where I was trying to understand what a status was. Remember the early days of Facebook? I said, what is a status? What am I supposed to write here? And then I started seeing what people are writing, similar to what you were saying. I'm here eating a sausage or whatever. I'm like, how is that important?
Yeah.
So, but the quote is simply, you can be anything you want to be on the internet, but people choose to be stupid.
Yeah.
Because you can create anything you want
Yes.
on that
Whoever you
platform.
want.
Yeah, and you brand yourself. I mean, literally, you are a brand now once you get the internet.
But are we underestimating the intelligence of these organizations and companies who actually, statistically in 2014, big corporations especially are putting 40% of their budget towards social media. And, you know,
I already had
Yeah,
things to say.
yeah, some things to
In
say.
a type of way.
And so do you
Some
think
type
that
of way.
organizations are throwing away this money or are definitely looking at the value and benefit that having a strong social media presence brings to their business? Because I would say big corporations
I was
like
I
Coke,
just want to jump in.
even an establishment like
Yeah.
Brew Bistro has definitely benefited from having a strong social media presence. I mean, their restaurant week deal was promoted heavily through social media, and the place was packed, you know, throughout the week. So
But you see, that's the thing. You remember what Podgy said, and I think that's so true. And I think he must get this all the time, peddling ideas to companies. And I've also caught that so many times. 100%, big companies, big corporates understand. We're spending all this money buying newspaper ads, and no one is reading the newspaper.
They're all
So
on
where
the internet.
guys are on the internet.
That's true.
They're on social media, okay? So the guy who's running this board, 52 years old, and maybe potentially his younger nephew or niece is like, Uncle, you don't know about Facebook or like Twitter or whatever. So like if they even know anything about it, it's very limited, it's on the surface. Some, I guess, again, with varying degrees. So I'm not going to throw everybody in the same like pot, right? But with varying degrees. But what Kule said is true. This is not the communication of their generation, right? The generation that owns big business for the most part, they're the ones who made like traditional media. They made TV, they made newspapers, and that stuff worked for years. That's why it's been working. Now a new generation has decided we want to communicate in a different way completely that puts the individual above, and that means that if I don't want to read from you, I will never read from you, and if I want to hate on you, it's immediate and blah blah blah. So they don't get it. For the most part, they don't get it. They don't understand, because also big business doesn't see individuals. Big business sees bottom line. It sees numbers. It sees 14 million. It says 2,700 views, right? It doesn't think 27 individuals who had something to say or think, and maybe that guy, the highlight of his day is like sitting at home and being bored. That is all that happened today. So they don't see individuals. And because big business doesn't see individuals, big business is missing out on the things that could happen from social media, because social media is all about individuals. Think about all the people you like following. They're so themselves, like the stuff that they say is so them.
authentic.
Are so authentic, and it's so localized to their experience, and like it's so then you can't then be running. And yes, they are putting 40% of their budgets now into social media, but to have that, to have a
guy,
bunch of
yeah,
people sitting in a room and tweeting and being customer care who can't really make decisions for the most part, you know, because some of those businesses. So let's say banking. If you're having client issues online, it's kind of complicated, because it's also like there's privacy issues, there's money issues, so I'm here tweeting and now this guy's complaining, it's okay, so I have to make a phone call. It needs 3 levels of signatures, right, that are on a printed sheet, like what are the complaints, because there's legal implications, you can't just respond any. So if you think about all of that, then you can't have, and that's exactly the word, Seth Godin. I hope we're all kind of familiar with Seth Godin. And he makes a very, very articulate argument about how the generation before was about the machine. They created machines, and industry. And by industry, it's like everybody fitted in. You guys are the guys who put the screw. When it goes to the next one, they're the guys who put the lock. That's what they did, right? It's an assembly plant. This is what happens, and then we eventually get an end product. Now here is social media. So what they're trying to do is to put everybody, okay, here is social media, you're the one who puts tweets, you're the one who puts pictures. And they're still thinking about this idea to end up with, at the end of the day, a final product, right? But they don't understand that that's not the, social media was made as a response, an anti, the new idea. Us guys don't care even about an end goal. Sometimes we're arguing because it's fun. Like there's no other reason. We're not trying to solve problems. We're just annoyed that our football team lost, and that's what we're doing, and that's the point of this conversation. And so you, even as a mighty conglomerate, Chelsea, you now all Chelsea fans in the world have woken up in the morning and they're hating on the coach. That's it. Like that's the purpose. So as Chelsea, you can't then have a guy who has like generic tweets for, but 20% productivity or buy one get one free. No one gives a damn about that. That's what we're trying to plug into, and I think that's an opportunity that big business hasn't fully understood. And I think also a lot of people on social media, that's still something. That's like the frontier. If you understand,
I think, but to some extent, I'll say this, and I'm using myself as an example. I actually became quite popular through social media. I think there are great ways to benefit, and you've said this, like we're the generation that will definitely benefit from this social media. I think the bottom line is you have to train people if they're going to tweet for your company. I think that's the bottom line. Isn't that what you want to argue?
I think even before training, it's not even a training. It's just an understanding. Like once you understand what the tool is, then you know how to use it. Like, as a big organization, if you have to spend 40% of your money on social media, you're already not doing it right. You know, like it's not news, it's not TV.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing here that should cost you 100 million. To put out good tweets and to put some pictures, you don't need 40% of your budget. You don't need like 10 kids. You don't need that if you actually know what you're doing. So yes, it can help your business, but it can also crush you because you'll take out all your good money that you'd have used to make ads and stuff, put all your money on social media on some kids, make the kids rich, but your company will fail because first I'll get bored of your product. I'll see 10 tweets every day. The day there's actually a relevant
you know what
tweet.
is happening.
Yeah, I know
You
what comes
understand
now.
what's
Now
happening. Like,
I'm just
I
like,
know these
yeah,
niggas
I know these guys are selling. These guys are, I guess, paying Kule to tweet. You know?
Exactly.
You know, I know.
Let's look at how
I'm supporting my homie Kule. You know, I'm not even supporting you.
Let's look at how diverse social media is. It's not just Twitter. It's not just Instagram. I mean, it's YouTube. And, you know, there's the RSS feed. I mean, there are so many platforms, and oftentimes, even as individuals who are managing personal brands, it can be overwhelming to manage those various platforms. Though, because we want to be as authentic as possible, we would rather do it ourselves than hire someone else to do it. These companies, they're operating from a different model, as you said, and exactly as you said, spending that amount of money. I mean, hopefully they're spending that money to acquire the right talent, because it is a science, and even the organization I'm working with now, we have an issue with a lack of depth. You know, I work with the human rights organization. There's a lack of depth coming from our social media platforms. So we really need to find adequate talent to, you know, to spread that awareness that we're looking to spread. How do you find that adequate talent? You know, aside allocating an appropriate budget to it. So, and I'm just saying that to say I don't want us to attach the label of stupid to those who have made careers out of, you know, perfecting, you know, social media. Because I know people who are so talented, you know, in that realm, and you know, I think that talent is not something that everyone has.
To keep someone captivated like every day.
And not just saying 40%.
But you see the people who are getting the jobs now, it has nothing to do with that creativity, or nothing to do with that understanding the science. It's just like, we need a T-lane, you know, we need a social media.
And then they're picking
it has nothing
people.
to do, it's just like, you tweet. Do you know how to tweet? Yes. Okay, come.
And then they're
even us
picking
open
people
for us a Twitter
who have
account.
like 15,000 followers, so they think, oh, this person is influential. But as much as they're influential, how creative are they to really
and
push
how
your product?
substantive
They
the
have to.
conversation.
But you see, for me, that's the problem. The reason why this whole thing was invented was people's desire for connectivity, to be able to relate, to connect with people from across the world, to implode the idea of like finding one another, presenting yourself as an individual. Like, just because you come from this end of backtown water in whichever part of the world doesn't limit you anymore, as long as you have access to the internet. There are other people who will think that you're interesting and you're curious. You just put yourself forward. That's how we made friends. You make, like, think about even the way, like, social networking, the idea that you make friends based on yourself, the people that you know, the recommendation of the people that your people know. Like, it's really individualized. It's a very personal idea. So if you came as KCB on social media as an individual, who would that person be? Like, remove the corporation, forget the corporation. What's the human part of this thing? Who is KCB? That's what I would want to see on social media. I would want to see a person.
Just to give a parallel to what social media is, I think in my eyes, is we could take it back to letter writing or pen pals. Remember when we used to have pen pals?
of course.
So I see that it's just volumes and instant.
Yes.
And that's what you're really looking at. Because I remember I would send a letter to somebody in, I don't know, Timbuktu.
Yeah.
And I wait 6 months later for the response.
Yeah.
You'll be
But
so
you know, we
excited.
get pictures. You know, it was Instagram. It was Twitter. It was all of that because I used to get those pictures from that individual about their
Postcards.
lifestyle and
Postcards,
postcards as
yeah.
well. So this is all of that put and packaged very well. But I think, and I keep stressing, this is still a case study. Social media is still going through a revolution and a change.
Yeah, I agree. But you know, social media is such a need for honesty on that thing. Like honesty drives the whole
100%.
thing.
Yeah, that's
like,
true.
It's like a desire. It's like a drug. I need to find honesty, and the only place I find honesty is here. So the minute Mukule says, "Yo, go get your coke," I'm done. You get what I'm saying? As Kule, I'm done. And it even goes outside here because somebody will meet me knowing everything about me and I've never met him.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
That's fascinating. Like somebody says, "Yo, Kule, I was at a party last night." Kule, you're there? No, nigga. So
So you treat. Yeah, that's true.
Shit. So you see how genuine that is. So for business, don't go in there trying not to be yourself.
Yeah.
If I was a bank, I'd rather be just to see judge. Just let me hear what guys are saying. Type KCB keywords, see what's popping.
Yes.
That's it. Don't even put a Twitter feed. If it's a Twitter feed, put your contacts. Done.
Yes.